Hi, everybody. Justin Henderson here at RecruitMilitary. I say it for the last 2 months. I'm going to say it one more time. I really have to change that picture on the intro. Definitely a different face than what you see there. But again, Justin Henderson, thank you so much for joining me again. This is the 10th episode of Vetonomics. For those of you who's your first time viewing, the reason I put this together is, my background. I'm a former Marine, as you can see, and I've been in helping veterans find employment and helping organizations build out intentional veteran outreach programs for the last 16 years. My education, I earned a degree in economics from the University of Pittsburgh, and it's still something I enjoy is watching the economy in action and understanding where my influence can best help veterans find employment and where my experience can help organizations better understand how to hire military talent and where to look for it. So about a year ago, I put together this program, and Vetonomics really is the economics of veteran hiring. So the goal today, what we're going to do is we're going to break down the jobs report like we do every month. And after I run down through that, maybe takes 5 minutes today because I'm really excited to get to our guest. Our guest is Mike Decker. Mike's a former Marine, and he works over at GlobalFoundries. Some of you may know who they are. They're one of these organizations that you interact with their products every day. You just may have never heard their name. So I'm really excited to bring Mike on the camera, have a discussion with Mike about his Marine Corps career, his transition into GlobalFoundries, and really why he's there and what GlobalFoundries is looking for out of the military community. So without further ado, I'd like to jump through the jobs report real quick. And again, May 22nd, we go through the numbers real fast. So first we'll jump to the unemployment rate. If you remember last month, the unemployment rate was below 3. That was only the fourth time total that it happened in the 21st century. So it happened in 2020, 2019, and then happened again this year. And here we are for the fourth time having veteran unemployment below 3%. What does that mean? It means that corporate America understands the DNA, the veteran is highly valuable. What people don't understand is we're only 5.6% of the US workforce. That puts us just under 9 million people and total. So when you look at 2.9% unemployment rate, that gives you about 261,000 veterans looking for employment across all 50 states. National unemployment has pretty much stayed the same month over month. We're at 3.6% unemployment, meaning we've got about 5.7 million citizens looking for employment. What does that do? How does that break down? Numbers wise, we can review that. So we had 428,000 new jobs added in March. We're still down about 1.6 million citizens being employed pre-COVID to now. We're still at 11 million openings, 11.5 million. So you put about so there's two numbers you'll see, 5.7 and 5.9. I go on Bureau of Labor Statistics, but I also go on some other government websites, and those are the two I've seen. So if you put 5.9, we're still 5 million jobs that can't be filled. There's just not enough people looking for employment. And if you wonder, hey, does that just mean there's a bunch of people on the sidelines? Not really. In February 2020, we had a 3.6% unemployment rate, and we had 5.7 million people looking for employment. So we're really darn close to where we were in February 2020. One thing that we look at, that I like to look at, is a labor force participation rate. That means how many people that live in the United States are actually working. In February 2020, that was 63.4. That's eye-opening to a lot of people that don't follow it. To give you ideas of like Norway, Sweden, they're in the high 70s. But we tend to be in those 60s, and it actually decreases as our life expectancy increases because we retire in our 60s and live to 80, 90, 100 now. But I think we can get back up to that 63%, 64 even, with the wage increases. That's going to encourage more people coming to the market. And really inflation. You saw that the Fed is putting together the 0.5 point increase, which I said last month would happen once we looked at the numbers. What that's going to do is, with inflation at where it is in the wage growth, what we're seeing too are people that maybe have retired in their 50s or early 60s thinking they were covered. with inflation has kind of eroded their retirements. They're coming back into the market. So I wouldn't be surprised if we get another high number next month in the 300 or 400s, and that participation rate goes up again, and it's going to continue to go up as we see those other people enter the workforce. Another interesting point is, if you're a veteran here looking for employment, you want to know where the market is. You want to know where your skills are in most demand. And right now we're seeing leisure and hospitality come back. The Omicron spike that we're going through right now, being it's warm out and summer, I don't see that impacting that labor market as much as it did previously in 2020, 2021, where it really just decimated them. They're still down 1.4 million people, but they're growing quickly. And I think some of them have adapted on how to do more with less. You're seeing some people with not as much, like restaurants in restaurant service and more takeout, things like that. Financial warehousing, transportation and warehousing continue to grow, 52,000 new jobs. That's almost 700,000 new roles just because of the pandemic. That's moving from the service economy, dance, monkey dance, entertain me, restaurants, hotels, resorts, all that, to buying stuff. And that's why you're seeing 700,000 people go there. Financial services are starting to come back. Again, I've talked about as seniors are starting to look at their retirement, as the market is opening up, as we're getting a lot of changes in that industry with the Fed making some big moves, you're going to start to see that industry grow again. Healthcare, it's still down 250,000, but it is growing back, which is good to hear. And then retail. Retail was surprising, right? It's 248,000 above pre-pandemic levels. I don't know what that means. I mean, does that mean that we're just back into shopping again and we're done using Amazon and Walmart.com for the last 2 years? I don't know, but it's good to see us getting back out. We talked last month about inflation and wage growth. Wage growth is growing significantly, but it's still not keeping up with inflation. So we're going to see how the 0.5 point raise and these quantitative tightening that the Fed's doing, quantitative easing is where you open up some more money for the market. Happens when you're in a recession, and it's something that we do frequently. This will only be, I think, the third or fourth time we've ever used quantitative tightening as a way to slow down an economy. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. And that'll turn next month and the month after. So June, July, we're going to see some differences here. But what's interesting is that payrolls continue to grow, $31.85 for private non-payroll farm jobs. Production, non-supervisory manufacturing, think $27.12. I mean, that was pre-pandemic, it was in the low 20s. So that's grown significantly. Also, you'll see that our February, March numbers have been moved down. That happens all the time. So you just take off 39,000 jobs off the February, March numbers. Next, please. Also, just a graph to show everybody really where the market is. Continuing to go, we're going to continue to see manufacturer, distribution centers, warehousing. Those are continue to grow all through the summer. There's a ton of money that wants to be spent. People have money burning in their pockets. They're going to buy stuff. That industry is going to continue to go. Leisure and hospitality, here comes the summer. I think it's going to be a big booming summer, which is really going to be hard it's going to be hard for the Fed with the 0.5 point and the quantitative tightening to fight against how many people are just going to spend money this summer. But if you're looking for work, manufacturing, warehousing, distribution, logistics, and hospitality leisure, you're not going to go wrong for the next foreseeable future. Next. And this is something I just want to put a quick snapshot on. I get this a lot from organizations. Companies will come to me and say, hey, we want to hire military, but we don't live near a military installation. Are there any veterans near us? So I put this together just to show you really where most veterans live. Now, of course, California and Texas are huge states, so you'd expect that. Florida, I think every Army person that retires wants to move to Tampa. So Florida, of course, is going to have a high population. I'm from Pennsylvania. I was a little surprised that, I guess I should have been, but a little surprised that Pennsylvania was number 4. But that just gives you an idea of if you're hunting locally for military talent and you don't have an installation near you, this gives you an idea of what number of talent you'll have in your state. Remember, 2.9% unemployment. So multiply that number by 0.029 for a national. Now, each state has their own veteran unemployment. But the value here, if you're looking for military, is to understand that you don't have to look locally. If you're looking for military, and this is everybody that's listening that is looking to hire military, do not look at the address. If somebody is transitioning out of the military, they're going to have their military relocation to get to where they want to go. So if you're looking for military and transitioning military specifically, it'll help you get out of that local talent fight and create a national search without having to add relocation to those roles. I highly recommend looking into military relocation, how that works. If you're a hiring authority and you're not quite sure, you have home or record, that's wherever you join the military, last duty station, wherever you get out. Uncle Sam will move that veteran in any direction that distance. So if you're wondering, hey, does that transitioning military member have relocation to get to our work site? Just ask them. Hey, Justin, what's your home or record? And then you'll know right away if they have that relocation to get there. Thanks. And then what I'm really excited about next is to get to Mike Decker. Mike is Mike's a master gunnery sergeant out of the Marine Corps. He retired out of the Marine Corps, and then he ended up over at GlobalFoundries, where I guess with IBM, then to GlobalFoundries. But what his job is he's in charge of the facilities at the Fishkill, New York site. So the reason that GlobalFoundries is part of this conversation is they've challenged themselves to hire 200 veterans in 2022. And GlobalFoundries is they're the second largest wafer manufacturer in the country, in the world, first and largest in the U.S. They're out of Malta, New York, Fishkill, New York. They have a couple different locations. But I really wanted Mike to come in here, one, to help those transitioning military understand from somebody that did it successfully how to transition, some of the hiccups he had, some of the successes he had, then also talk about a career in his industry. So without any further ado, Mike, if you could come on screen, let the team meet you, it'd be a pleasure.
Hey, Justin, how are you?
I am doing outstanding. How about yourself?
Doing well, doing well.
What I love about Mike, he may have left the Corps, but his haircut hasn't.
I haven't left just yet. I'm in my last 30th year there, so
that's right. God, you're still in the reserves.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, that being said, Mike, if you could you just give us a quick overview of your military experience? I know you're in your 30th year and knocking on retirement door, but just give us a background of your time in the Marine Corps, and then from there we'll talk about GlobalFoundries.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I started out as a young Marine. I was in the avionics, which is what actually found me my way over to IBM at the time, as Justin mentioned earlier. So I started out in avionics. I was there for probably 12 years, and then I migrated into a MAGTF planner role, which acronyms in the military, I'll go ahead and explain it. It's a Marine Air Ground Task Force. So I moved into a planner's role and actually took on civil military operations as a thematic lead from there, and became a planner just for civil military operations. Spent some time in DC. So at this point in my career, I'm obviously in the reserves now. I had gotten out because there wasn't much going on in the world. 9/11 happened, and a lot of things are going on in the world. So one thing I can say is that it's been a bit dynamic, my reserve career. But both IBM and GF especially has been more than supportive of me and my career in the military, as well as personal endeavors that you have to encounter along the way. Okay, so us military types are a little bit different operators. Require some flexibility, and I really realized that as I advanced through the ranks in my military career, because it's not a 1 weekend a month anymore. Just the reserves in entirety has changed since 9/11. The way we're employed, how we're used, the training that we receive, but also with the rank advancement, as you pick up more responsibility, the 1 weekend a month goes away. Because things happen real time, real life scenarios that you need to respond to, you need to be engaged with. So along the way, GlobalFoundries has been phenomenal in supporting me and providing the flex that I needed. And they benefit from it as well, because they know what they have in my service. So it's good for them to be appreciative of that. It's nice to know we're appreciated. But I'm still, from there, I moved on to a force level billet, which is where I am now, down in New Orleans, Force Headquarters Group. So there we have approximately 14 units and 11,000 Marines under our charge that we see after. So that's where I'm at today. I'm at my 30th year.
Wow.
Couldn't be prouder for it, and glad to be here.
Yeah, no, thank you for your continued service and doing the full 30. And so you mentioned something about the reserves. I want to put a pin in that because I think it's really important for people that are watching now that are transitioning out of active duty to have a realistic understanding of what it's like to be a reservist in corporate America. I was a reservist in manufacturing settings as well. I worked for a division of Sony and Corning. So I remember how that works because you're working like a 2-2-3 schedule. You're working an off schedule where weekends are part of your workforce. So you have to plan to that and some other things. But I'd like to put a pin in that and talk to that later because that is important. But when you transitioned out of active duty, when did you start your transition plan? Was it a day before you got out, a year before you get out, somewhere in between? And is there any pointers that you give people listening that, hey, I did this and I highly recommend everybody does this. And also I did this and I recommend nobody does this, right? Successes and failures.
Sure. So the transition started, I was still on active duty. I actually met, there's a program out there called Marine for Life. I know a lot of different organizations have it. So I linked up with a Marine who actually happened to be working for IBM at the time. And he knew my background. He says, you know what, I know your type and you'd be a great fit. So he talked me into it. I filled out the application, did the interview. And so day one transitioning out, I had a job. It was awesome. Yeah.
That's funny. The whole reason I have this job is I managed a restaurant after graduating college. It's like a bad joke. 3 Marines walked into a bar. They sat at my bar. They earned their civilian employment through this organization. 16 years later, I'm still here. It shows you that networking is so important.
It's
so
huge.
important.
It's huge.
Well, and two, with the because GlobalFoundries has a veteran resource group, VRG. Right.
I'm glad I
And
was just going to bring that into it. Yes. Yeah. So that's you talk about networking, right? So just as I realized later, as my career advanced, how I was identified, I'm like, that's the same tool I'm going to use to identify people now that I'm in a hiring role, right? And we, to identify the assets and resources that military veterans have to offer. So you're right, Justin. We did create, it's called the Veterans Resource Group. And the purpose was, to create that professional network, plus also have somebody on the inside as a transitional team member to know what that person's going through. Okay. Since 9/11, I'll touch on that again. Several military personnel, they've been deployed. They've been tasked with things that many of us aren't used to seeing. All right. So, and the reserve element has been a large role of that. So to have somebody on the inside to understand just a little bit of what they've gone through, what they've been through, some of the challenges. Haven't been deployed myself as a civilian employee, going back to active duty 7 times. I have a good feeling for that and how it works. So having that employer support is huge, because I got to tell you, with if you're not set in that your family's taken care of in the rear, your head's not going to be in the game when you're in the forward like it needs to be. And lives are at stake. You have a lot of responsibility, and in order to do that job proficiently and professionally, that's a big part for me anyway. That's a huge part of both IBM GlobalFoundries supporting me in that manner.
Well, even one, that's the biggest opportunity for support when a reservist is activated. But I look at just the landing in the company. I think of companies with a active VRG have better retention rates for transitioning military, because just like when you go to a new unit, you don't know anybody, but that unit comes to you and says, hey, we're your new friends. Here's your wife's new friend. Here's your kid's new friends, right? Here's your village to help you. Mm-hmm. And that VRG gives you that. And it gives that safe space for that person that comes in that maybe feels that they shouldn't be asking questions, that they know, hey, I can come here and ask these questions and know that it's a safe space. So no, I think that's amazing. And what, what made you, was it a conscious choice to go facilities over, manufacturing maintenance? Was there a conscious choice of, hey, I see the difference between these and I want to go this route? Or is one of those, here's where the need is, you saw that you could make an impact and you went for it?
Yeah, I think it was more need and opportunity based.
Yeah.
Kind of, I'm well balanced in my background here now at this point in my career, I think. So it's always good to learn different sectors and different opportunities. I'm always up for a new challenge. That probably, stems largely from the military. One of the biggest things is that every day is a little bit different, right? Things always change. This is semiconductors. It's a dynamic business. I can't tell you how much business change I've seen over the years. I've been with them about 26 years now, and there's highs, lows. There's new ideas, technology changes, different approaches. I've been through 2 acquisitions now, major acquisitions.
Yeah,
that's the nature of the business, but it's all good. It's all good.
What I just thought of this question now after my first question. We have a lot of people getting out that watch this and I always say you don't know what you don't know. One of my favorite jokes when we run hiring conferences is I would do presentations on the day before interviews, and we would have a manufacturing company that, manufactures food. And I'd walk in and go, okay, real quick, show of hands, who here said, I can't wait to make cheese when I get out of the military? Right. And everybody laughs but 2 or 3 guys end up going to that company. And it's, you don't know what you don't know. So under that, going from this service-based economy to this product-based economy, which is booming manufacturing, going through the trades, technicians coming out of the military have never been in more demand. How do they vet if they're a field service, or how do they understand if they're going to enjoy facilities more or if they're going to enjoy manufacturing maintenance more? Is there a way that when you talk to somebody getting out with that type of background that you understand the right way to push them?
Absolutely. So there's not just myself, but we have several members on the VRG that are part of the transitioning team. So what we do is, as resumes come to GlobalFoundries that have a military background, we get a first swag at them, if you will. So to identify what are their assets, where is this person best fit, best fit the company, as well as what are their aspirations, what do they want to do in their life, what do they want to be when they grow up, So that's all part of it. But we also are probably the first person to reach out to them because we know the lingo, we can talk to them, and it's that continuity, that immediate connection, where we can start networking right from the beginning. So there's a lot of civilian sectors that don't understand the acronyms, the terminology that's used in the military. MOS, right? What is their MOS? What is that thing? In the military occupational skill, right? Second nature to us. They get a 4-digit character and they don't know how to understand it. So we know how to cross-reference that, and it's not always transparent. Avionics, let's say. I don't know that necessarily. If you said avionics, would a technician seeking employer go after that person? Say avionics. That's got to do with planes, right? They have no idea the intricacies and everything that's in the background there, right? So, whereas we correlate directly with it. So, to have those people on our team that can recognize that and reach out to them and talk about those common threads, and then we in turn present to the business, hey, this is what this person has to offer. This is the type of background they do, and we assimilate it to the tasks and duties and positions that we have here at GF.
Well, yeah. So for me, I find the best thing to do is look at skill, not experience. Right? The skill learned as an avionics tech is troubleshooting down to the box level. But hey, if you're micro miniature repair, you have the skill of opening that box. I think that's the big part. And the joke I crack here often is the only group worse at translating military experience than corporate America are veterans. Both parties just aren't good at bridging that. And that's why I try to go skill instead of experience. But I guess, for me, the question is, I talk to candidates about manufacturing maintenance. Some companies have really robust PM schedules. And that's what you do. You walk in, you get your tickets, and you go to work and you PM all day. And maybe you get one reactive maintenance a shift, maybe. Other plants, it's a firefight, right? You get in, you grab, you just start reacting. And some technicians, right? There's technicians that enjoy the firefight, and there's some that enjoy the PM. And you have to understand that. You have to ask the right questions to make sure you're putting them in the right place. So I guess the question I had for you between facilities and maintenance, are there questions that those veterans can ask themselves to say, you know what, I'm a facilities tech, or you know what, I'm a manufacturing maintenance tech? Is there anything, or is it pure, hey, if you like boilers and HVAC systems and you enjoy working on those automated systems, then facility? I mean, is there any differentiator? Is there anything you ask them to better understand?
There is. I'll go off of experience a little bit, but you're right on the skill. So the skill translates between all of them. You wouldn't realize how much, let's say, instruments and controls there is in those big boilers and HVAC systems. Same as there would be instrumentation and controls at the tool level. So there's relevancies between the two. But the beauty about being with a company like this is that there's the ability to move within. So a number of us as well have. So I started out as a technician, right? I went from technician into like a tool install group to a pseudo engineering group, then facilities, and then management. So I've been through a number of different roles, and the company's provided that, those opportunities to me. And we do the same with our personnel. It's not always good to have people. It's probably never good to have people stagnant in one area, right? So as they develop their skill sets, they'll find that niche that they have, and it may be within the department, or we may move them out of the department. Say, hey, there's got a great fit for you over here. This is what you like to do. This is what we need you to do, and we'll move those people definitely. There's no hesitation in doing that. That's a win-win for both of us. You're not going to know all of your abilities and capabilities coming out on day one, right? You're going to learn it over. That's what's nice about this place is it's not a job, it's a career. So I can't tell you that the last time we've hired somebody in at a very high level or management level, we build our own. So it's kind of like the military, just like a rank structure, right? Which is really neat. So you start at that ground level, and not to say that people don't come in a more advanced level, because we certainly do. But still, there's always that forward mobility, just like you would be used to in the military, with promotions and more responsibilities and leadership opportunities, definitely.
Well, and I've seen that, placing people in helping veterans find employment in GlobalFoundries, 8-7 years ago, something like that. And those people are now in leadership roles. I've seen it, and I know it. And what I like about GlobalFoundries is you've already decoded the MOS. You understand when you see that MOS, how that correlates to GlobalFoundries needs, which, for transitioning active duty watching right now, I mean, that's huge. I think 90% of the reason that I even have a job is because most corporations don't understand that. They don't understand how to decode the MOS, but you guys have figured that out. With the semiconductor industry, it's huge in the news. Everybody's talking about, we don't have enough semiconductors. The U.S. needs to bring manufacturing back, right? And really, so, guys, being the size that you are and seeing that investment coming your way, what would you tell veterans or transitioning military? What are some positives? Why would they choose your industry over food manufacturing or medical device or something like that? Any specifics?
Sure.
Any thoughts?
Number one, like job security, and opportunity, definitely. So is there challenges with growth? Yes, but I view every challenge as an opportunity. That's where you get to step in and shape it, so you get to shape that, what the solution is. It's right now, you're right. The industry is just booming. It's just bursting at the seams. We're probably loaded for the next 6 years as best as we can forecast, which is kind of unprecedented for us as well. So there were several manufacturers that fell victim during COVID, and the fact that we were able to show the diligence needed to get through without any major incidents is huge. Are there other global challenges? Absolutely. Supply and demand is huge right now. I know everybody feels it on vehicles. Well, we feel it on some resources too that we use in making semiconductors. However, there's all the forecasting and planning that goes into that, so that we're ready as well. We've got to get out and get ahead of it as well. So, but the growth and opportunity is awesome. kind of neat that now is the time, I'll say. So whether you're at Fishkill or Malta, we're both looking at major expansion projects. So you can get in and be part of that. Absolutely.
The and what you said about the 6 years sprung a new thought as well. When I talk to people getting out, I say, hey, there's great jobs and there's great careers. Sometimes you go take a great job first and then go to your career. And I use oil and gas all the time. You know, the fracking boom 2010 and 11, transitioning out, you had a great job for a couple of years. You made a ton of money, you had some good stories, and then you went and started your career because it was a boom and it went down. I think about other organizations within your space that will build a new facility, a new wafer. They hire a bunch of people, and then their competitor builds a better wafer, and then they lay the people off, and those people have to relocate over to this place. You know, so it makes it kind of like a whack-a-mole almost. But with GF or GlobalFoundries, you don't have that issue. You know, you guys are well established. You're serving multiple vendors, customers, and you can have a real career there. You know, you don't have to worry about the size of Malta. Well, heck, by the way, I didn't say this, but I met Mike face to face end of January. I went up to Fishkill where he manages the facilities there, and we took a 4-hour tour of every single square foot of that place. It's huge. It just kept going. So you could have a career at Fishkill because there's that much opportunity, and they're expanding. But Malta's even bigger, and I really like that. And then what I know you being the facilities, you know, in charge of facilities, you know, of course you're going to be hiring from that group. But do you see specific roles that you notice are more prevalent for veterans to enter into at GlobalFoundries than others? You know, of course the maintenance, because we're really good at breaking and fixing things. But you know, if there's a HR person, or you know, if there's an officer that's watching, or there are any other roles that, hey guys, you should come look at this because we've seen veterans be successful coming into these roles.
Absolutely. I mean, we have all facets of what you might experience in a unit while they're here at GF as a business. Because like you mentioned, I call them logisticians, right? It's our supply chain. It's a logistician to us in the military. You know, The maintenance part of it. Well, there's a command element too, right? The execs that sit in the lead office positions, if you will. No, it's all relevant and the same. So I mean, every task or purpose that you might find in the military, being that we're a whole entity company, and we are self-serving more or less at each site. We do interconnect and intercommunicate, but we're pretty self-supportive, and especially here at Fishkill as we're getting ready to go on STEMI at the end of the year. So we're going to be in this particular site for On Semiconductor, one of their most advanced facilities, which is pretty exciting for us because On Semiconductor is even larger than GF. So we got headlights forward. Yeah, it's good.
That's great. Well, and another thing for any veteran thinking about applying, another thing I really love about GlobalFoundries is they have veterans in their recruiting talent acquisition department, and that's critical for actually getting somebody to look at your resume and go, ooh, I understand what I'm seeing. So many organizations have a university recruiting program, and that person must have a degree and attended university to understand the value of a degree in a university. And then that same person is their veteran recruiter, but they didn't serve. Not a negative, but how do you truly understand the value of all these resumes unless you serve? And I think that's another way that you guys are getting it right. That you have somebody that served to vet those, and you have the VRG that's active.
Definitely. It helps with the decoding process and us identifying all those skills and assets for sure.
Now, I want to remove the pin from the reserve conversation. So many times people get out and they say, you know what, I want to go into the reserves. They're not ready to take the uniform all the way off, which I totally understand as a former reservist too. What do you have any guidance, insights to those people as they're making that decision or they're vetting that opportunity? Any things that they should think about? Anything that advice you want to give?
Definitely. If you're coming off active duty, I would definitely enlist in the reserves. At least do that first tour. Okay. It's easy to transition from there. If you decide you want to drop and you want to go to the inactive ready reserve or something, you can do that. A heck of a lot easier it is than to get back in the game. So once you lose that continuity, prior service enlisted career recruiter, I tell you that it's difficult to get back in. Definitely.
No, really.
The machine's built for finding new people and bringing them up through the ranks, not bringing in back the old. Yeah, definitely. So don't break that gap. Don't make a gap, I should say, in service. At least stay in the IRR. Save yourself that opportunity that you can go, selected reserve or active reserve or whichever it may be according to the different services. But don't just disengage and walk away. No, definitely not. And you won't know probably for that first year how much you're actually going to miss the military. So you're gonna create a gap and a void. I'm getting ready to retire, and I don't know if I'm ready for it. Right?
Yeah,
so
right.
I know it's a gap coming. Yeah. But it's just a tempo that you're used to, and you still I feed off of both. It's nice to have both to fall back on and reflect on as well. It's kind of like being dual-headed, but
well, you said something that's really important that not everybody understands is the loneliness almost, right? When you walk out in that isolation, when you walk out of uniform, you go back home or you go wherever you're going to go, and you don't have that camaraderie. You don't have that blunt accountability that we all like, right? We like to be held accountable. We like to hold on. Hey, man, we're not attacking each other. We're attacking the mission, and we're going to win. And those things, you feel that loneliness at first, and having that reserve component really could make that landing softer. Another thing I think about is if I could talk all my enlisted brethren, those junior enlisted that get out, the wife's pregnant, they don't have a plan, they just jump out and like, we're going to make it work. Keep the TRICARE. At least the reserves gives you the opportunity to have that type of healthcare to get you through.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And with healthcare costs skyrocketing, and you're getting out and you're worried about your standard of living, and you're worried about, we've talked about inflation, all these other things happening outside in the economy, that reserve will help you. You get those benefits, and you get that, and you've got local. You have a local, if you join a local unit, wherever you end up, now you have a local group of people that you get to part of your village, Mm-hmm. I think that's great.
Another thing is, you'll find that you feed off it through both careers. So I'll say leadership development. As you continue to enhance your military career, you'll find how that ties into your civilian career as well. I can't tell you how many different academies I've had the opportunity to go to, capstone events. So you understand, they're both really just two businesses. People may look at them as this big government entity, but it's really a business within itself. Each service entity has their own mission, and you'll understand to correlate that with a business mission as well. Obviously, we make wafers here, we win wars over here, so they're related. You would call them different things, but there's a direct tie if you can weed through that, and you can appreciate that. So you'll see the larger business model in the Marine Corps for sure. It's a one-to-one correlation for me.
Well, yeah, and well said. Especially because corporate America is, hey, we're going to give you training, we're going to get you certifications, and usually it's technical PLC processing, but it's not that leadership training, that leadership development. And you're right, that reserve component. You're getting the technical acumen over here in corporate America, and you're getting your leadership development where they meet in the middle. If you're a junior enlisted, as you get into those leadership roles. Yeah, that's well said.
Intangible skills are invaluable right now. They don't teach them in school. They don't teach them in college.
No,
there's some life learning skills there that there's only one way you get, and we can appreciate each one of those, because with those comes responsibility and accountability, like you said. So.
LinkedIn did it was called the LinkedIn Veteran Opportunity Report. I think it was in 2020 or end of 2019. Right. And the stat that stood out to me was like 70% of transitioning military, or no, it was 38% of transitioning military take a step back. when they come out of the military in their civilian career. But after 3 years, over 70% bypass their peers. And that just shows, the intangibles, the standard corporate recruiting interview process takes the human out of it and looks just for experience. Do you have these widgets that we need to use? But when you get in the seat, it's the human that defines your career. And I tell veterans that all the time is, hey, find your passion, right? Find your passion, find your purpose. Because once you land in that seat, you're gonna show them what the asset that they just got, and everything else is gonna follow. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. You can give 5 people 5, same identical toolboxes, but the one going to cross the finish line is the one who knows how to use them.
Well said. So we've covered the majority of what I had for us to discuss. Any plugs? Any one, when Mike and I are done with this conversation, Mike did send us a 1-minute video that I meant to send before I brought Mike on camera. But when we're done with this conversation, we'll put that video up as a close so you guys can get to see the campus, get a little bit more information about GlobalFoundries. But before we do that, is there any other talking points? Hey, these are the roles that we're trying to get veterans into, or anything, advice you have, not just GlobalFoundries specific, but for veterans as a whole? The floor is yours.
Sure. Don't ever sell yourself short. Some people get out of the military on their way out. They don't have that piece of paper. They find that, I don't have a degree, so maybe I can't go after this job or do this job. I'm not qualified. Don't ever sell yourself short. There's great programs, obviously, SGLI coming out of the military, but I'll tell you that corporate America as well they're behind education. So if you want to go back to school and get that degree that you're after, to solidify your skill set you already have, follow through with that. Don't ever sell yourself short, though, that you're not qualified for a position because you don't have a piece of paper. You've got that real life relevant experience, and here at Global, we certainly recognize equivalent experience through the military. That is professional education. Just because it wasn't done in a university, that doesn't matter. So well, and I'm seeing that more and more too, that even though the job description says required, when the companies are coming to me, they're saying, no, if it's a veteran, we'll waive it. A leadership role, again, because there's no leadership development in corporate America or in university. So they're going, well, hey, they get that degree, at least we know that they're smart and they can stick with something for 4 years. You'll see it in almost all of our job postings. It'll say or equivalent military experience. And like you said before, we got the code crackers on this side, so we know how to understand what's equivalent and where they fit. So,
well, and two, as I stated at the beginning of this show, there's 5 million more openings than there are citizens looking for employment. So more than ever, companies they're looking for a way to say yes. Oh, wait, it's a vet. Let's see if we can. How can we find a yes? And also to all of you that are applying for jobs, remember the job description was created during the Great Depression. It was 25% unemployment rate. The whole model of the job description is to create as many gates and moats and walls so that you can't get in. Don't, like Mike said, don't sell yourself short if you're missing 1 or 2 of those requirements or must-haves. It's an antiquated model that companies haven't pivoted yet to more skill-based model. So apply, especially because companies are looking for military so much. I mean, hence the reason we've had 2 months in a row with veteran unemployment below 3%. Insane. What about as far as so we've talked about industries, we've talked about roles. Don't sell yourself short. The one thing I did want to tell the veterans here before I get done, and Mike, you'll probably hear this from my candidates more and more, is at the end of an interview, I've got my favorite close, and I wanted to pass this to everybody. And Mike, you could pass it on to your Marines too, is at the end of the interview, when Mike says, hey, I've got everything I need, any questions for me? I say, yes, Mike, Hey, first of all, I want to say thank you so much for your time today. I was really interested in coming on site, seeing the place and meeting the team. Now that I've seen it, I have to tell you, I'm highly interested and I think I'm the right person for this role. So I have to ask, is there anything that you heard from me or saw from me today that would stop me from moving forward? Because if so, I want one more crack to win this opportunity. Because like I said, I think I'm the right fit. Now you can say it in your own way, but what you want to do is one, let them know you're interested. Hiring managers, I know it's a business decision, but it's very personal, right? Because if they make you an offer and you say no, that hurts the feelings a little bit, right? So letting them know you're interested will help. Would you agree, Mike?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And then two, is there anything you heard or saw from me today that would stop me from moving forward? You're confirming you put your best foot forward. And if not, you're getting yourself a second swing at the pitch.
Definitely.
I had a munitions officer. Yep. I had a munitions officer interview for a safety manager role. Him and the hiring manager, thick as thieves at the end. They're talking about going to sporting events, all this. He asked that question. The manager said, I love you, but you don't have any safety experience. So I can't hire you. And he said, hold on. I'm in charge of bombs and bullets. They had another 20-minute conversation. He got the job. And ever since that story, I tell everybody I can about that question, that's a good way to close.
That is, and I'll say the follow-up is just as important. So always, there's no one better. You're your own best keeper. Okay. So in corporate America today, it's easy to have a job posting, 200 applicants, and you're just a number, right? So do the follow-up with the person, whether it's the HR rep or the interviewing manager, that point of contact. Reach out, do the follow-up. Hey, I'm still here. I'm interested. Is there anything else? You already made your second swing, like Justin recommended. So just do the follow-up. It may just be a form that's required for a background check or something simple like that needs to be completed. That if you don't have all those checks in the box for an administrative snag somewhere, follow up on it, because it's the only thing that's holding you up. You can get passed by in corporate America just for that, and when you're really the better of the candidates. So just your own best keeper. Follow through.
Yeah, I think the assume acronym comes out in my head. Like, you can't assume anybody's doing anything for you, and you have to, be your biggest advocate and be a bullhorn. As far as follow-up goes, when I started this way back when, 2006, I think there was dial-up still. It was handwritten note. Send it to the hiring manager, send it to the HR person. The market's moving too fast for that stuff now. If you did a video interview, go to that calendar invite, look at those, see who was invited, get those email addresses and email them a thank you. If you don't have their email address, go on LinkedIn, look them up, connect with them and thank them. That, you would be surprised how just a teaspoon of initiative could change the direction of your life. And that's probably what I tell everybody. Just show a little initiative, because believe it or not, that's not a common virtue.
It's not.
An initiative goes a long way. So that's great. Yeah. And also, thanking them for their time, showing genuine interest, and maybe reiterating what makes you so interested in the role. Right. A little scratch on the back to the manager is always a good thing. Hey, I think you're a great leader. I think you have a great team. Like, that works. It goes far, right? No, that's great. Yeah, I think I think we covered everything we wanted to. Is there anything else that we missed?
I think I'm good, Justin. I'm glad. Thanks for having me today. Absolutely.
Well, good. Before we cut to the video, just a reminder, you can find Mike. He's on LinkedIn, but he's over at the Fishkill, New York site. Hiring for facility. They're hiring for maintenance techs as well on the manufacturing side. Really, they're hiring across the board. You've got Burlington, Vermont, Fishkill, New York, Malta, New York are the three main sites that are hiring right now. And the goal is to hire 200 veterans in 2022. So if you're interested in a semiconductor industry, reach out to RecruitMilitary, reach out to GlobalFoundries. You can reach out to Mike or myself. We're both on LinkedIn. You can connect with us there, and we're happy to help and dissect your resume and give you any guidance we can to help you get into the industry and start your career. But again, Mike, thank you so much for your time today. I think it was really informative, and I think this is going to help our veterans find the right career opportunity.
Great, absolutely. Thank you, Justin. Much appreciated.
Thanks. Yep, have a good one. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Have a great weekend.
We live here, at the intersection where worlds of different scale meet, where progress is just beyond perception. We make the chips that power your favorite devices and experiences. We create breakthroughs in multiple dimensions, making semiconductors not just smaller, but smarter. Our innovative technology solutions proactively meet the needs of tomorrow.
And I know they show the plant
with efficiency that helps our planet and powers our world. A new era calls for more agility and collaboration, and we're delivering that promise with our global manufacturing footprint. Wherever you are, we are too. Collaborating, partnering, and investing so we grow together. Working at levels unseen to most, but felt by everyone. We are transcending traditional paradigms, delivering more capabilities, more intuitive interaction, more intelligence. We are GlobalFoundries, delivering a new era of more.
And that is how you close the show. Hey, again, thank you all so much for your time today. Truly appreciate it. If you need anything, have any questions, reach out to either of us.
Take care.
Take care. See ya.